For more on what U.S. immigration reform means for Canada and Mexico, we continue our conversation with Jimmy Hernandez and Stephen Yale-Loehr.
Well, it's largely economic, right? When the U.S. economy slowed down because of the 2008 financial crisis, there wasn't that much of an incentive to cross over to come to the U.S. to find jobs. Quite frankly, Americans at that point couldn't find jobs, so it was difficult for even undocumented immigrants to find them. Not only that, but also our border enforcement has become much more stronger. This administration is spending more on border protection than any other administration before it. And I think those two combined are contributing to those lower numbers of.
And they're deporting more people than ever before. We're at record highs for deportation. So people see the risk of coming to the United States illegally.
They get scared.
They get scared about it.
Let's head north of the free trade agreement here for North America and talk about Canada for a moment. Very different set of problems, very different set of demographics. What's the greatest issue and challenge for Canadians coming to the US, or for that matter, vice versa?
For Canadians, it's really our broken immigration system. It's just as hard for them to immigrate legally into the United States as it is for someone from Mexico or the United Kingdom. And so they're all frustrated by our U.S. immigration system and how long it takes. You have the opposite problem for companies like Microsoft. You know, because of the problems with the U.S. immigration system, they now have set up a research and development facility in Vancouver, Canada, because they can't get the people that they need to work in Seattle. So we're losing competitive advantage by not reforming our immigration laws.
I mean, that's a great point. If you're losing jobs because your companies aren't willing to set up a facility within the borders here and they have to do it outside just to get the workers, what does that tell you about the urgency of getting something done? I mean, that's something I'm certainly, Jimmy, that you've talked about within your own circles. What's the one thing that you guys want to have done right now?
Well, to be quite honest with you, we want comprehensive immigration reform. We want the entire system reformed. But to your point, in terms of how certain companies like Microsoft are now opening facilities outside of the U.S., it's the reason why right now the coalition that's pushing for immigration reform, it is widespread and goes across the entire United States, right? It's from Latinos to Asian and Pacific Islanders to tech to the clergy. We're all fighting for the same thing because we see it as, again, as an economic issue, as a solution to an economic problem.
Quick final thoughts from each of you on the relationship between Canada and Mexico with relation to this immigration reform bill that's being discussed right now, whether or not you think it's going to get passed and in what time frame, Professor?
Yes, I think we will get immigration reform. I think there's still a window of opportunity before August 1st for the House to do something. There are 5 bills that have been passed through the House Judiciary Committee that could go to the floor and provide a template for then compromise with the Senate. If it doesn't happen this year, I worry that it won't happen until 2016, our next national election.
Jimmy, politics get in the way of this?
I think it'll pass as well. I think it'll definitely pass. And when actually, I think you bring up a good question about politics. The Republican Party has a political incentive to get this done. They believe, for some reason, that this is gonna support, somehow support them in this year's election, when it's actually, I think it'll hurt them. Not only that, but they're not thinking long term. It will hurt them in the 2016 elections. These Latino voters, Asian voters, immigrant voters that will remember who blocked immigration reform.
Thanks again to our guest, Stephen Yale-Loehr, adjunct professor of law at Cornell University's Law School, and Jimmy Hernandez, communications director for Voto Latino. Thank you to both.